All right, let's take a look at question 7. Jill collected honey from 9 different beehives and recorded the amount in gallons from each hive in the line plot shown. She wants to write the value of each point marked on the number line above. So they're just saying A, regardless of how many X's are above it, A is what point on the number line, B is what point, C is what point, D is what point. So we can even just go ahead and pretend that there are seriously no X's above it. We're just reading this like a number line right now, and they're saying, okay, what are these points on the number line worth? They've already told you that A is 0 gallons. It is past 0, not yet to 1, so it's not yet 1 gallon, so it's 0 gallons. And then 3 quarts. In order to make sense of this, you probably have to remember that there are 4 quarts in a gallon. I've drawn my big G for gallon over here. There's 4 Q's inside of it. Now this is not split up into quarts, but if I go ahead and just split this portion of my number line into 4 equal parts, I can see that A is 1, 2, 3 points past that jump. 3 of those 4 pieces, that's 3 quarts, and then it's exactly on that quart mark, so there are no pints there. Okay, now if I were to go ahead and just ignore this part of it and say, okay, let's say I'm going to put an X on this number line. I'm going to make this X here. X, just go ahead and put this here, would still be 0 gallons because I'm not yet to 1. It would also have 3 quarts, but it's 1 line past that. So that would be 1 point. So if I read this, this is nothing. There's nothing there. This would be 0 gallons, 0 quarts, and 1 point. 0 gallons, 1 quart. 0 gallons, 1 quart, 1 pint. 0 gallons, 2 quarts. 0 gallons, 2 quarts, 1 pint. 0 gallons, 3 quarts, no pints. 0 gallons, 3 quarts, 1 pint, and then if it was right here, obviously I'm right exactly at 1. Okay, so using that setup, you should now be able to figure out where B, C, and D are and fill that out accordingly. Okay, now this next question says find the total amount of honey collected from the 5 hives that produce the most honey. So if I go back to my number line, get rid of this, I can see over here, this point on my number line is closest to 3. Even without knowing what D's worth, I know that this is the hive, these are the hives with the most honey, and I see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. So I'm going to take this amount, because every single one of those hives is worth that, and I am going to multiply that times 5. I could actually also add them all up 5 times if I wanted to write that number 5 times over and over and over again and add it up, and I can do that. But that's what I'm asking for here. I need to figure out 5 amounts of D amount is how much. All right, let's take a look down here then. Jill collected 19 gallons of honey. This number is new, okay? This number has nothing to do with our number plot. We're starting over. This is our total. She's saying she distributes, which is a fancy word for split up or divides, the honey equally between 9 jars. So here's my total, and I'm splitting it up between 9. Remember, I can't ignore any remainder. I have to express it like a fraction or a decimal, just like I did when I had to do the castle problem. Okay, moving on to D. Jill used 3/4 of a jar of honey for baking. Ah, D is connected. I am going to have to take my answer from question C because this is telling me how much honey will be in each jar. So I'm going to have to take that number, and then it says 3/4 of. Well, I know that of means multiply. So I am going to take 3/4 of, or 3/4, I don't know why it's doing that. That's fancy. 3/4 of, or 3/4 times, whatever my answer was that I got from question C. That will give me my answer here. Don't forget to put a unit on it. Okay. Question E says Jill's mom used 1/4 gallon of honey to bake 3 loaves of bread. Again, I'm starting over now. This isn't asking me to pull anything from previous questions. It's saying, hey, you've got 1/4 of a gallon of honey. This is what you're doing with it. It's saying if she used an equal amount of honey in each loaf, how much honey did she use for 1 loaf? So I'm starting with this amount and I'm splitting it up between 3. We've had problems that look like that previously in the test. So once you've established that that's the problem you're doing, You may want to go back and look at some of those other videos to figure out how exactly we do that. Last question. Jill's mom stored some of the honey in a container that held 3/4 of a gallon. Okay, so essentially they're telling me, hey, I've got 3/4 of a gallon right now. That's my total. She used half of this amount to sweeten tea. Okay, so I am taking half of that. I can multiply it times 1/2. I could divide it by 2. Those are equivalent expressions. The tricky part then here is it's saying how much honey in cups was used in the tea. So I could convert this into cups and then find half of it, or I could find half of it and then convert it into cups. Either way, that is going to work for me. Good luck.